Dear everyone, as promised, I continue to read the story Charlie Parker Plays Bossa Nova by Haruki Murakami. Last time we read that he was in the record store, but he couldn't find the record he held in his hand the prior day, and the owner didn't believe that they ever had that record. We don't know what happened, and we don't know what would happen, so let me read it for you. There's one more thing that came later on. This happened a long time after that incident, in fact, quite recently. One night I had a dream about Charlie Parker. In the dream, he performed Coca Widow just for me alone. Solo alto sax, no rhythm section. Sunlight was shining in from some gap somewhere, and Parker was standing by himself in a spot lit up by the long vertical beam. Morning light, I assumed, fresh, honest light that was still free of any superfluous meaning. Bird's face facing me was hidden in deep shadow, but I could somehow make out the dark double-breasted suit, white shirt, and brightly colored tie, and the alto sax he had, which was absurdly filthy, covered in dirt and rust. There was one bent key he would barely kept in place by tapping the handle of a spoon to it. When I saw that, I was puzzled. Even Bird wouldn't be able to get a decent sound out of that poor excuse for an instrument. Suddenly, right then, my nose detected an amazingly fragrant aroma of coffee. What an entrancing smell! The aroma of hot, strong black coffee. My nostrils twitched with pleasure. For all the temptations of that smell, I never took my eyes off Bird. If I did, even for a second, he might vanish from sight. I'm not sure why, but I knew then it was a dream, that I was seeing Bird in a dream. That happens sometimes. When I'm dreaming, I know for certain this is a dream. And I was strangely impressed that in the midst of a dream, I could catch so very clearly the enticing smell of coffee. Bird finally put lips to the mouthpiece and carefully blew one subdued sound, as if checking the condition of the reed. And once that sound had faded away over time, he quietly lined up a few more notes the same way. The notes floated there for a time, then gently fell to the ground. They fell to the ground, one and all, and once they were swallowed up by the silence, Bird sent up a series of deeper, more resilient notes into the air. That's how Corcovado started. How to describe that music? Looking back on it, this music Bird played just for me in my dream felt less like a stream of sound than like a momentary, total irradiation. I can vividly remember the music being there, but I cannot reproduce it. With time, it has faded away, like the inability to describe the design of a mandala. What I can say is that it was music that reached to the deep recesses of my soul, all the way down to the very core. I was certainly that kind of a music existed in the world. Music that made you feel like something in the very structure of your body had been reconfigured ever so lightly, now that you had experienced it. I was only 34 when I died, Bird said to me. 34? At least I think he was saying it to me, since we were the only two people in the room. I didn't know how to respond. It's hard in dreams to do the right thing, so I stayed silent, waiting for him to go on. Think about it. What it is to die at 34, Bird went on. I thought about how I would feel if I had died at 34, when I had only just begun so many things in life. That's right. I had begun only things myself, Bird said, only began to live my life. But then I looked around me and it was all over. He silently shook his head. His entire face was still hidden in shadow, so I couldn't see his expression. His dirty, battered saxophone hung from the strap around his neck. Death always comes on suddenly, Bird said, but it also takes its time, like the beautiful phrases that come into your head. It lasts in an instant, yet those instants can draw out forever, as long as from the East Coast to the West Coast, or to infinity even. The concept of time is lost there. In that sense, I might have been dead even as I lived out my life, but actual death is crushing. What existed until then suddenly and completely vanishes, returns to nothingness. In my case, that existence was me. He looked down for a time, staring at his instrument, and then he spoke again. Do you know what I was thinking about when I died? Bird asked. My mind had just one thought, a single melody. I kept on humming that melody over and over in my head. It just wouldn't let go. That happens, right? A tune gets stuck in your head. That melody was a phrase from the third movement of Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 1, this melody. Bird softly hummed the melody. I recognize it, the solo piano part. This is the one Beethoven melody that really swings, Bird said. I have always liked this concerto, his Concerto No. 1. I have listened to it I don't know how many times. The SP record with Schnabel on piano, but it's strange, don't you think? That me, Charlie Parker, when I died, I was humming, of all things, a Beethoven melody in my mind, over and over, and then came darkness, like a curtain falling. Bird gave a little laugh, his voice hoarse. No words came to me. What could I possibly say about the death of Charlie Parker? Anyway, I need to thank you, Bird said. You give me life again, this one time, and had me play Bossa Nova. Nothing could make me happier. Of course, being alive and actually playing would have been even more exciting. But even after dying, this was a truly wonderful experience, since I always loved new music. So, did you appear here today in order to thank me? That's right, Bird said, as if reading my mind. I stopped by to express my thanks, to say thank you. I hope you enjoyed my music. I nodded. I should have said something, but I couldn't for the life of me come up with the right response. Perry Como sings Jimi Hendrix, huh? Bird murmured, as if recalling, and chuckled again in a hoarse voice. And then he vanished. First his saxophone disappeared, next the light shining in from somewhere, and finally Bird himself was gone. When I woke up from the dream, the clock next to my bed read 3:30 a.m. It was still dark out, of course. The fragrance of coffee that should have filled the room was gone. There was no fragrance at all. I went to the kitchen and gulped down a couple of glasses of water. I sat down at the dining table and tried once more to reproduce, if even a little, that amazing music that bird had played just for me. I couldn't recall a single phrase, but I could remember what a bird had said. Before they faded from my memory, I wrote down his words with a ballpoint pen in a notebook, as accurately as I could. That was the only action I could take. Bird had visited my dream in order to thank me. That much I recalled. To thank me for allowing him the opportunity, as many years ago, to play Bossa Nova. And he grabbed an instrument that happened to be around and played a coca-vedo just for me. Can you believe it? You'd better, because it happened. It really did. Okay, that's the end of the story. That's what happened. That's interesting.